Dear viewers, they said he was a monster. They said he didn't deserve a second chance. But when he finally spoke his last words, every single person in that prison, guards, inmates, even the warden, was left in tears. This is the story of Marcus Reed, the man everyone gave up on until the very end. Marcus grew up in the rough streets of Detroit. His childhood was a storm, poverty, hunger, and a father who disappeared before his first birthday. By the age of 15, Marcus was already in and out of juvenile detention. Not because he wanted to hurt anyone, but because life gave him no other options. He stole food to feed his little sister. He fought bullies who mocked her for wearing torn shoes. He did what he thought was right, even when it was wrong. But one night, one mistake changed everything. It was a freezing December night. Marcus and two friends tried robbing a corner store. He thought the owner was gone. He wasn't. A gun went off 0.1 second. That's all it took. The owner, an older man named Mr. Jacob Miller, fell to the floor. Marcus swore it was an accident, but the court didn't care. They saw a young black man with a record and a gun in his hand. The verdict: guilty of first-degree murder, sentence, life in prison without parole. He was 19 years old. Prison hardened Marcus fast. He learned to fight, to keep his head down, to trust no one. For years, he was filled with anger at the system, at his friends who ran that night, at himself. He refused to talk to anyone. Even his mother's letters went unopened. But one day, something happened that changed everything. Marcus was cleaning the prison library when he found an old, torn Bible wedged behind a shelf. Inside it was a letter, not to him, but from someone named Jacob Miller Jr. It was written to the inmate who killed his father. Marcus froze. His heart started racing. He opened it carefully. The letter said, "I don't know if you're sorry. I don't even know if you care. But my father always taught me one thing. Forgiveness isn't for others. It's for us. I hope one day you find peace, because I already forgave you." Marcus dropped to his knees. For the first time in 10 years, he cried. After that day, something shifted in Marcus. He started reading every book he could find about forgiveness, faith, and redemption. He joined a prison education program and he learned carpentry. And every Sunday, he began teaching other inmates how to read. They called him Professor Reed. But what made Marcus truly different wasn't what he learned. It was what he started teaching others. He'd say, "We can't change our past, but we can choose what kind of story it tells." Warden Harris had seen thousands of inmates come and go. He didn't believe in second chances. To him, Marcus was just another killer pretending to be reformed. But over the years, he couldn't ignore what he saw. Inmates who used to fight daily were now calm, attending Marcus's study sessions. Guards at the prison felt different, quieter, more human. Still, Warden Harris didn't trust it. Until one day, tragedy struck. It was 2:17 a.m. when smoke filled the east wing that an electrical fault sparked a massive fire. Panic erupted. Inmates screamed, guards shouted, and alarms blared. Marcus woke to chaos. But instead of running for his life, he did something no one expected. He ran toward the fire. Inside one of the locked cells was an officer, trapped, coughing, barely conscious. Marcus broke the lock with a metal rod and dragged the guard out through the smoke. Minutes later, the roof collapsed behind them. That guard survived because of Marcus Reed. When the warden saw the security footage, he was speechless. The same man he'd written off as a criminal had just risked his life to save another's. From that day, everything changed. Marcus earned the respect of everyone inside those walls. Even the warden started calling him by his first name. But then came the bad news. One morning, Marcus collapsed in the yard. Doctors said it was terminal pancreatic cancer. Stage 4, he had months, maybe weeks, left to live. The warden offered to move him to a hospital, but Marcus refused. He said, "This place made me who I am. I want to finish my story here." A few days later, Marcus asked for one final thing. He wanted to speak to everyone, guards, inmates, staff, one last time. The warden agreed, and on a cold Friday morning, the entire prison gathered in the chapel. Over 300 people sat in silence as Marcus, weak and pale, stood before them. Marcus looked around the room. Then, with a shaky breath, he began. I used to think prison was my punishment, but now I know it was my classroom. This place broke me, so it could rebuild me. He paused, looking at the younger inmates. Some of you still think this world owes you something that IT doesn't, but you owe something to yourself, a chance to become more than what they said you'd be. His voice trembled. I took a man's life. I can't ever undo that. But if I can help someone else find life here, then maybe my time wasn't wasted. Tears filled his eyes. Forgiveness isn't freedom from guilt, it's freedom from hate. If you're holding hate in your heart right now, let it go, because I promise you, there's peace on the other side. By the time he finished, even the guards were crying. The warden couldn't hold back his tears either. And then Marcus said one last thing. Tell Mr. Miller's son, thank you. His father forgave me, and that saved my soul. He smiled faintly, then sat down and never stood again. Marcus passed away quietly that night. The entire prison held a moment of silence. Days later, something incredible happened. Jacob Miller, Jr., the son of the man Marcus killed, visited the prison. He walked into the chapel and placed a small wooden cross on the altar. IT had Marcus's name carved into it. He said, "My father believed in forgiveness. Now I see why." And in that moment, everyone realized redemption is real. Months after his death, the prison education wing was renamed the Marcus Reed Learning Center. Inmates could now earn diplomas, learn trades, and even mentor others. A plaque on the wall read, "In memory of a man who proved that no one is beyond redemption." The warden often visited that room. Sometimes he'd stand quietly by Marcus's photo and whisper, "You taught me more about mercy than I ever learned in church." Marcus Reed's story reminds us of one powerful truth. People can change. Even in the darkest places, light can still break through. So before you judge someone by their past, remember, sometimes the people who've seen the most darkness are the ones who know how to bring the most light. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to share it. Someone out there needs to hear that forgiveness is still possible, because sometimes the most powerful words come from the most unexpected places.